Boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. I guess I'll mute the desktop audio. Turn my light on.
If you buy Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, it's collector's edition. You get some Infinity Gems in a box. So here was the advertisement for said Infinity Gems.
All right.
Look, you see them? And here are the actual Infinity Gems you get.
Those are eggs.
I think they might be solid.
They're still just solid eggs.
That's actually what they look like in the old comics. That looks more like the comics. The old
So how much money does it cost to buy basically a small briefcase full of eggs?
Plastic eggs you can get from Chinese factory for like $1 for a whole sack.
All right. Let me tweak this. All right. Guess we're streaming. All right. That looks good.
No one's watching.
Yeah,
Good.
Monday.
People wised up.
Monday gets the least viewership of anything. Thursday gets the most.
But doesn't Monday get the most download?
Yes. I don't know.
Maybe tech people are.
Tech people have podcatchers.
Tech people know how to use a podcast.
Oh, no. There's 2 people in here now.
That's you and one other person.
I'm not. This view does not count, and I have not started another view.
It's me. I turned it on.
It's Dazzle. Dazzle's one of them. Yep, it's live. I'm clapping with one hand. Okay. He's the one who told me to fart the other day, and I did.
Great.
Okay.
Well, when YouTube gets smell-o-vision, they won't be telling you.
We'll be the first ones up. It's Monday, September 18th, 2017. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we're talking about portable electricity.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good topic. Someone just wrote a bunch of words. Is that spam? What the hell is that?
Interesting reviews in the current situation of batteries. When will this go live? It's 1 a.m. here in Sweden.
It's going live right now.
Yeah, it's live.
Also, person in Sweden. How can I move to Sweden? Do I have to learn Swedish?
I could probably move to Sweden if I needed to.
That sounds like a good place to move these days. Also, what is the warmest part of Sweden?
Not warm enough.
Do you have a beach? On the south part, maybe somewhere. How expensive is it to live in that part? Is there a tech job there for me?
All right. Got an opening bit?
Oh.
I got a bunch.
What did I do this weekend? I played a Netrunner.
I got an opening bit.
And
actually, I can pull up my Strava of it.
Played a Netrunner. What did I do the day before on the Saturday?
I guess I tweeted it, so I don't have to look for the link. Things I tweeted. Where's that Strava I tweeted?
Oh, I took my mom to see the Frank Lloyd Wright thing she wanted to see.
Oh, yeah.
Finally.
Because you're named after that dude.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
If I had money, I could live in the house he made. Or have someone make a similar house is probably a better idea, but also quite expensive.
So yesterday, kind of something Emily and I started doing is every fall, give or take, it's kind of random exactly when we do it, but we head upstate to a place called Breakneck Ridge, which is not named after a hiker who broke his neck.
Yes, it is.
It's named after a bull who broke its neck.
By falling off the cliff, just like a hiker is likely to do.
So as the legend goes, the people of Cold Spring, there was a bull that was terrorizing the farmland. So they got a bunch of farmers together, and they chased it up Breakneck Ridge and off Breakneck Ridge, killing it. And then they named Breakneck Ridge Breakneck Ridge.
Why not Kill Bull Ridge or Falling Bull or
well, the mountain on the other side
Angry
of the river
Bull
is called Mount Taurus, I believe. Not on the other side of the river. Storm King is on the other side of the river.
Well, everything on the other side of the river is based on animals: Bear Mountain, Bull Mountain, Horse Mountain, Cow Mountain.
So what we usually do is we get off the
Giraffe
train.
Mountain, Elephant
Metro
Mountain.
North in New York has this cool thing where there's a couple of stations that aren't an actual full train station. They're just a wooden platform that's like not even that big, and some trains will stop at these little wooden platforms.
You have to usually request.
No, you don't actually. It's for a long time. In fact,
you have to stand at the exact right door.
Yep, and they announce when the train's about to leave, like where it is. But anyway, so Breakneck Ridge is one of those stations, and it used to be there'd be like 2 trains that stopped there on the way up and 2 trains that stopped there on the way down, only on Saturday and Sunday. But when we went this time, and we do this all the time, like this is a regular trip we do, there were like 6 trains instead of the usual 2.
Are a lot of people going?
Yeah, so a lot of people are starting to do this, way more than used to. Like, tons of people get off at Breakneck Ridge to the point that now there's all these porta potties set up, like, at the station. There's, like, a tent set up at the trailhead with, like, maps
Are
and
they selling Metro North?
information.
There's a Metro North ticket machine?
No, but you can just buy tickets on the train, so.
Obviously. But
Plus, who buys tickets? You have a smartphone app. I'm amazed how many people I see, like, in Beacon, frantically buying tickets at the station before the train comes.
It's hilarious when I'm in Grand Central and there's a line of people on the weekend at the ticket room with all the machines.
Yep.
And right next to the entrance to the ticket room is a giant sign that says, buy your ticket with this app, and it has the URL to go get the app and everything. And you see someone standing with a smartphone waiting in line with the sign next to them.
It is trivial to buy a ticket on the app. It just works, though. There's
It
a
even
weird bug.
supports Apple Pay. You just go boop.
There's a weird bug with the app that I found. It has not affected me.
Did you find a way to get a free ticket?
No.
Oh.
So whenever I buy a ticket right now and I show it, the time it shows on the app for what time it is now and when I bought the ticket is in the Utah time zone.
Oh, because you're stuck in the wrong time zone?
No, but my phone is not in that time zone. My phone is definitely in the right time zone.
iPhone does not have this problem.
Yeah, so my phone shows the time, the correct time. Only the Metro North app shows the wrong time.
All right, well, iPhones don't have this problem.
No other app. Well, you don't know that. You haven't been to Salt Lake City.
I've been to Seattle.
Yeah, so have I. And when I went to Seattle, because I've used this app before, it did not happen. It only happened after I went to Salt Lake City.
Your phone has been touched by Mormons.
Yeah, something like that. It's weird. But so we did the hike.
They hate Metro North.
It's an extremely strenuous and difficult hike, and it takes us about 6 hours if you do the Schofield Ridge. It takes like 3 hours if you don't do Schofield Ridge, because Schofield Ridge is actually it's a surprisingly difficult hike over there. But anyway, we did the hike and everything was fine. We went back to Beacon, and the place where I once it was an abandoned building. There's a lot of abandoned factories all over Beacon that I broke into almost all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them have been turned into fancy loft apartments now.
That makes sense. Gentrification. We were
Yep.
there before it was cool, and we left before it was uncool.
And now it got cool, like way cool.
Mm-hmm.
But Beacon, just in the last like 6 months, gentrified to a degree that is surprising, even knowing that they already built all these crazy lofts and all those old factories.
It was slightly gentrifying when we were there. They started opening up more restaurants and stuff as we left.
So many people get on the train to go from Beacon back to the city on a Sunday evening that the train completely filled.
Mm-hmm.
And even the conductor was like, yeah, this has been a problem. I don't know what to do. Good luck, have fun. You're going to get to stand probably.
Good move, moving.
And on Main Street now, there's a giant apartment building being built.
Where?
Like on
where
Main
the Key
Street,
Food used to be?
right in the middle. No, Main Street is like way different from what you remember. It's all fancy bars, fancy restaurants. Like when we lived in Beacon.
Is a sushi place still there?
Yeah, of course it is.
All right.
What was an upscale? Were there even upscale restaurants in Beacon?
There was the sushi place.
That was not upscale.
There was
though,
for a while there was Cafe Maya.
which was again not upscale. That was
There
just
was
nice.
the Suko Thai. Fuck you, Suko Thai.
Fuck you, they're still there.
Fuck you.
But was there upscale?
And there was the
Was there a restaurant in Beacon that you would consider fancy?
like what level of fanciness? I mean, because the sushi place wasn't unfancy.
Like any of the places in Vernon
Was it-
Jackson.
No, not. There was no place that was like a place that someone would wear nice clothing to.
So
I guess
there are
could,
like
you could wear nice clothing to Suko Thai if you wanted to, but fuck
nah.
them.
No, if you wanted a fancy like quote unquote upscale place, you went to like Fishkill or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 3 upscale restaurants in Beacon now. They're building so many apartments. The craziest thing, there's a giant construction going on right now, right next to the train station. Big apartment building, it looks like.
Where next to the train station?
Like, you know when you go up the road toward where we used to live,
Mhm.
and there's all those like old like condos, those white condos?
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Mm.
Like in a place that was just woods before. It's just gigantic apartment building.
Okay.
So yeah, we're
So I
talking
guess
about
someone bought the woods.
I feel like I'm going to look at some real estate prices in Beacon because of all the upstate places, Beacon actually has the most investment value.
I think it's a little late. You missed your chance on that one.
See, while I think it is late, it's still not too late because the buildings they are building is like going to add 20% more housing to Beacon.
Yeah, I was thinking like further out, cheaper, but also larger.
Beacon, larger than Beacon? Name a town that's larger than Beacon up
Not
there.
the town being larger, the property that we buy.
So anyway, I realized if we want a house upstate, if the house isn't next to a Metro North station, it's worthless.
Also on a lake.
Unless it's next to a Metro North station, it's worthless, and I'm out.
I don't care if it's worthless. I want to store stuff there.
No, it's not useful. If I can't just take a train to it, I don't care.
I can get a car. If I have a house, I can have a car and go there.
Where are you going to keep the car down here? Or are you going to leave it there?
You leave it there.
So how are you going to get to the house to then use the car?
Amanda has a car.
It's all you if you don't want to be in a town that has Metro North.
If you're in a town that has Metro North, it costs too much money, and that defeats the purpose.
But it still costs way less than you think.
It costs way too much money.
Nah, dude, how much is too much money?
Like, too much money.
All right.
I still have to continue to pay New York rent. If I didn't, right?
Because that shack that Pete sent us a link to was still like $150.
Well, that's really cheap.
Yeah, but
that's way
it's a shack. It's a cabin in the woods with generator power.
But it has an enormous amount of land. I've seen houses with 2 stories and sewer, well, maybe not sewers, but electricity and phones and internet and whatnot on a lake for $150.
No.
They were just dilapidated, crappy houses, but they were still houses. So,
but Beacon is gentrified and growing to a degree that was shocking to me, who already had the impression that it was gentrifying rapidly. Something changed in the last, 3 to 6 months.
Well, instead of going to Beacon, think about what's going to be the next Beacon.
No, I think it's going to be more
What
interesting.
town has just gentrified with its
Here's what I
one
think is
sushi
gonna
restaurant?
Happen. Beacon is going to fuck Cold Spring and all the towns near it.
I don't know about that.
Because they don't have local economies like Beacon does.
Cold Spring, I don't think can be fucked. It's got money and
but Cold
Garrison is super mansions. They don't give a shit.
But Cold Spring is just commuter town, as opposed people who live there.
If you're concerned about the train, why not Crody? Crody Croats.
Crody's not that nice. There's nothing there.
It's not about. You're only going to your own house there. You're not doing anything else there.
Nah, if you're at the Beacon house, I do stuff.
You're going
there.
just to go to your house. If I want to do stuff, I live in New York City. I don't need to go somewhere to do stuff. I'm going somewhere to put my stuff. So my apartment in the city could have no stuff in it.
So anyway, we got any tech news? Because it's Monday.
There's tons of tech news because we delayed because Apple was inconvenient with their timing this Apple Day.
Yep.
And so Apple Day was 2 weeks ago, but GeekNights is today. So we held on to the Apple news and somehow did not forget it and also didn't use it on a non-Monday. Good job, us.
All right.
So let's go Apple news real quick. Number 1, new Apple TV does 4K. Fuck the Apple TV.
Apple TV.
I break its back, make it humble. It sucks.
Chromecast.
It's always
is better.
sucked and it still sucked. The Apple TV costs more than all the competing products like Chromecast and Fire Stick, and I think the Fire Stick's actually being canceled. But
yet it does less.
It does less than all of those, and you can just get a computer that does a Raspberry Pi is cheaper and better than an Apple TV and does more. Right? There is no reason to buy Apple TV for anyone. Even I guess if your whole life is Apple and you only do Apple things and you're only interested in doing things Apple TV does, then you're paying more to get a maybe nicer user interface on it. If you're the kind of person who's buying movies on iTunes, then maybe Apple TV is good for you. If that's the only,
everyone I knew used FaceTime, then that would be a better UX.
If it's literally the only thing connected to your TV because you don't. Right? But the thing is, I always use this analogy, and I'm going to keep using this analogy because I still believe in it, right?
All right?
You're someone who lives in a town, and you never leave the town. So you say, who needs a car? I never need to leave town. I've never left town. Why would I buy a car, right? I only need to do things in the town. I'll stick with my bicycle. And then one day, someone forces you to leave town, and you realize what you've been missing, and now you see why it was stupid to not have the car and leave town, right? That's what an Apple TV user is like. I only do things the Apple TV does. I'm never going to need to play emulated games on my computer. I'm never going to need to watch a video on my computer that the Apple TV won't watch for some reason. I'm never going to need to do this and that because I only do the Apple TV things. If you did the other fucking things because you used something that wasn't an Apple TV, you'd realize how shitty the Apple TV was and how it doesn't fucking do anything. Right? So that's the Apple TV.
So iWatch 3 will really, once Scott gets his, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I ordered it, so I get to go get it on Friday.
But as far as
I don't want to talk about it too much, but the main reason I bought it...
The only feature it has is you can put a SIM card in it.
Right. Well, no. It has an electronic SIM card built into it.
Okay, so I can have a SIM card in it.
Yes.
Yes. It has its own data plan.
Right. So it uses your data plan, and you pay $10 extra a month in the US, but actually in every other country it costs more than that. But anyway, so yeah, the main reasons I got it were they didn't redesign it and make it thinner and better, which is sad, right? Because that's what I was really waiting for.
Yep.
But, the Pebble, not supported anymore. Go bye-bye. And
My Pebble's still working a lot better, but I've noticed online, just sort of this is purely just a sampling, like self-selected sample. People I know who use primarily iPhone, their Pebble has been degrading or working less and less
The Pebble has always worked less with iPhone than with
But on Android, it's still working like a champ.
Right, but like there are lots of notifications I'll get that won't be on my watch, and then suddenly I'll get a notification on my watch. It's very inconsistent.
Yeah,
right?
I'm having no problems like that. So.
But anyway, I mean, my Pebble Time still works. If anyone wants a Pebble Time, let me know.
It's pretty much the second best smartphone in the world. The best one being the Pebble Time Steel.
Smartwatch.
Smartwatch.
Anyway, so the other thing with the new Apple Watch is they added this supposedly advanced, better heart monitoring something. Now, I don't know if that's bullshit or not. I'm going to find out and let you know.
Nah.
Of course, I don't even know if I'll be able to tell because I'm not a doctor. But if it has any merit whatsoever, right, you got to figure heart disease kills the most people of anything in our part of the world, right, is the number one killer, more than car accident, more than anything. Of course, a lot of the heart disease deaths are from smoking, which I don't do. But besides the point, it's still the thing most likely to kill Scott is heart disease.
Pretty much.
So if this Apple Watch can in any way, even remotely, provide any sort of valid information that may help to detect heart disease early and keep me alive somewhat longer, right? Then the $400 or $500 it cost is basically, that's too cheap.
But also,
if it's true, it could just be bullshit.
Forget your life. Even like the fact that I wanted the new Pebble that never came out because Pebble is gone.
Yep.
But it had a heart rate monitor. I don't even want necessarily accurate information. I just want consistent information from the same source to use in my stat tracking. Because if you use Strava or something for exercise, like when I bike and ski and run,
you can start and stop your Strava runs from your Apple Watch, of course.
which I can do from my Pebble.
My Pebble doesn't do that.
Wow, iPhone and Pebble just really didn't work.
Well, no, it works. It's just the iPhone,
all
iOS.
that stuff just worked on my Pebble. Like I don't know
iOS does not have all of the Bluetooth things like open. Right?
iOS doesn't have all of the NFC stuff. Like if you want to use a separate external security token, like a YubiKey NFC on your iPhone, it just won't work. It only works on Android.
Yeah, they don't
Same
have.
reason.
They don't really have NFC. They don't allow that.
Yeah,
because they want to charge you for making Apple accessories, and they want you to use Apple stuff, right? They don't even do Bluetooth headphones anymore. They got like their Apple X headphone thing, which is admittedly better than Bluetooth headphone, but you have to buy headphones that use it. You can't just buy any old.
So the
Bluetooth
trouble is, on
headphone.
one hand, like I like my smartwatch partly because it makes it easy for me to do sports, like when I'm running. And having a smartwatch, even the old iPhone 2 or iWatch 2 would do this.
But you still have to carry your phone with you when you go running.
That had independent GPS. You could theoretically get the data without the watch. The problem, you don't need the data plan. You'll get the GPS data because you don't need a data plan for GPS.
Right.
The problem is Emily's tried that, and the GPS in the iWatch appears to suck ass. Like it's way less accurate and shitty if you don't have an iPhone with you. I wonder if the iPhone 3, the iWatch 3,
has improved the GPS.
I wonder.
We'll find out. I've never used the iWatch GPS.
I think, I just want to carry my watch, but when I go for long runs. I actually want my phone with me because I might take a break and I want to read the internet.
You can read the internet on an iWatch.
Yeah, on that tiny ass screen? No, thank you.
Hey Siri, tell me what the news is.
Yeah, do you actually do that or do you want to just read Twitter on a real screen?
iWatch might want to do it instead of,
Yeah.
but on the, because I just listening.
I will eat my head if you regularly read long parts of a timeline or long news articles on your watch.
Well, I imagine if I'm biking, I could just be like, hey Siri, read me the something.
Yeah, but that's not what I do. I stop after running like 10 miles.
That's why I don't run. See, running is tiring. And
or I
stop
in Rockaway after I biked and I want to just sit and read the news while I eat a hot dog.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that on your watch. Also, I like to look at a large map to navigate and plan if I'm running somewhere I've never been before.
Anyway, we'll find out how good it is, right? I still need to get, I still need the functionality that the Pebble gives, only better.
Yep.
And the iWatch is going to give that.
So I don't think the iPhone 8 does anything. Like, I guess
I don't know. I think what they've realized somehow is that, like, because I bought the iPhone 3G, the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7, right? Every 2 year. And I realized, these S phones are bullshit. Why would you pay money to upgrade from like 5 to 5S?
But isn't the iPhone 8, even this article is like, it feels like it's just the 7S.
Right, it's barely better. So then they went from 6. I don't think they made 6S, right? It was 6, 7?
I don't even remember.
There might have been 6S, but they went from 7 to 8. There's no 7S, right? They realized they trying to fool me. They're like, Scott won't know if we don't put the S, that this is just a minor increment and not an actual upgrade. But you're not fooling anyone. You released the iPhone X at the same goddamn time. So
meanwhile, the iPhone X, here's the thing that I got to get out before I get anything out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the continued, let's make a weird aspect ratio or have weird no-go areas on the screen. For UX.
I don't really care about that so much.
From a design...
The way I see it is the phone is not any big, is just it's basically the regular size of iPhone 7, which is only slightly too big.
Yep.
Yet the screen is as big as the iPhone 7 Plus screen.
True.
Because it's the whole fucking thing. You got rid of those other areas. So you're getting the giant enormous screen without the giant enormous phone. That's a good. The screen is better. It's ridiculous.
I already
insane resolution.
2 different UX articles from people who make iPhone apps talking about how that bar area and slightly changing aspect ratios is increasingly a problem.
The bar area, of course, drives designer people crazy. But like, how much do I really care?
But I guess why is that there?
It's because it's basically that bar at the top is basically a Kinect. It's a Microsoft Kinect in there.
But why not just have the bar go all the way across the top? Instead of
because you get that
literally
extra
useless screen there.
You don't, because by pushing the time and the symbols out of the way, now you gain that much more space, right?
True, except for full screen apps that now have to deal with it.
See, that's the thing I don't understand is the full screen apps. Like, why should the full screen apps even be allowed to intrude into those little ear areas?
What that might be?
Those little ear areas should always contain the time and the symbols no matter what. And they should option should be to make it black to hide them if you want, like watching a video or something.
That is the correct answer.
Apps should only be able to go into the space below. Why should apps be able to creep into those 2 notches? I guess you could, if you wanted to, make a cute app that does something up there like a game.
No.
But then what's that app going to do on a regular iPhone?
Yeah, that's it. None of you were clever enough to use that thing well. What Scott suggested is the correct answer.
But I guess if you're on the lock screen, it can put like your picture can extend up there. It's kind of nice.
That is dumb.
Why? I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah. Well, I guess the only things you should be able to use that area are the iPhone's direct notification status bars itself.
Yep.
Or apps that appear on the lock screen, probably controlled by Apple.
Well, I mean, just your lock screen, your actual lock screen background up there.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever. But yeah, it's like...
But still, that aside, the other thing I got to complain about is that people are kind of talking about the pricing in a weird way because it's $1,000.
No, it's not. It's like $1,100 or $1,200.
No. It's $1,000 for the 64 gigabyte.
The worthless one that no one should buy because 64 gigs is not enough for anybody.
I'm going to quote this Verge article because this article exemplifies what I'm talking about. I'm going to read a sentence. It'll come in 2 storage configurations. 64 gigabytes.
In other words, never buy.
For $999. And 256 gigabytes.
Too much.
For a whopping $1,149. Now, $149 as an incremental increase in price between 64 gigabytes and 256 gigabytes is not whopping.
No.
$149 is default. You should not buy the small iPhone X.
At the same time, how much? What's a 256 gigabyte SD card go for?
I don't even care about that. Apple's always been that way.
That's what I'm saying. But that's the biggest deal is they still are way overcharging for the storage.
Well,
there should be
my Android phone. I can stick an arbitrarily sized micro SD card in there.
That larger size, 256 gigs, costs Apple basically nothing extra to make. Compared to
you're missing the point. Forget that Apple's never going to let you put your SD card in the
phone.
No.
I'm saying they should have a single configuration. 256 gigs for $1,000.
You know how the designer, freaks out about those pixels on the top? So here's why, in my opinion, Apple has the 64 gigabyte
Just so they
version.
can advertise a lower price.
It exists solely so that their marketing media can say the iPhone X starts at $999.
Why not make the smaller one 128 so that it's actually you can buy that one?
It probably is.
Because if it was 128 256, I just buy the 128.
Because if they make it 64 gigabytes, then a much higher percentage of people will buy the bigger, correct-sized one for the extra $149.
The 256 is actually too much. You don't need all that space.
Yeah, but I literally think they just made the 64 gigabyte one $999 so that they can have a price point that is under $1,000 because muggles still don't understand what smartphones actually cost because of like a decade of phone price subsidies.
So I have the iPhone 7, and when I got the iPhone 7, I got the upgrade plan because I was hoping for iPhone 8 that was a significant upgrade right now, right? And I pay for the iPhone 7 $37 a month, and that includes the best Apple Care and everything. And now, basically, at any time starting now-ish, I can go and give them my iPhone and get a new one and pay the monthly fee for that and the not have to pay $37 a month anymore, right? Pretty much all the iPhones worth getting, which is the iPhone X that's big, costs $50-something plus a month. Am I going to pay $20 more every month to get that phone? It's like that's
to get those pixels up there?
To get some extra pixels and some better cameras. It's like, no, for $20 more a month, I could just go spend that on plenty of other good shit.
Well, I wonder where Apple might be losing some momentum.
And the iPhone 8, it's like, okay, I could go get the iPhone 8, but it's not better in any significant way that matters to me compared to my iPhone 7. And, it will cost me more money, so why would I do that?
Apple is increasingly having trouble marketing iPhones, like new versions that come out, as game-changing and revolutionary, whereas Android, there's no marketing around this Android phone will fucking change your life with a keynote, but smartphones have hit sort of a plateau where there aren't new life-changing features that are capable of being added until battery technology or processor technology.
You could just stop overcharging people. Put out that iPhone X at a lower profit margin, and people will buy it like insano, and it'll kick all the Android phones' asses.
I don't know if it
But
will.
Apple has never been concerned in doing that. Like, Ferrari could sell cars at a low profit margin and kick all the Ford's asses, but they don't do that either. It's a luxury brand. That's how they do.
Yeah, but there's no way to market cutting-edge features when there's nothing new in the smartphone world.
That screen is pretty new.
Yeah, but it's 2436 by 1125.
But by how many inches?
5.8.
Yeah, all right. That's probably the best screen on Earth.
That's more pixels than this fucking monitor I'm looking at.
That is the best screen that a consumer can buy on the face of the earth.
That is more pixels than the Dell Ultra Sharp I'm literally looking at right now.
That's why it's $1,000.
Yeah.
Right? For the screen alone, I would pay, but not $1,000.
So in other news, and again, we're going to talk about this in more depth later, but just in case you didn't notice, Equifax got hacked. And normally when someone got hacked...
It means someone got their password guessed.
Well, no. So when someone got hacked and database got released, like company got hacked, not individual, and information got released, usually it's... like
SQL injection.
The salted the salted table of like password hashes and usernames. But this one's different. So if you've been ignoring this hack, the reason it's different is that the data that was breached was first names, last names, birthdays, social security numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're fucked if your data got hacked.
And everyone's data is in there if you're a United States person with credit.
Yeah, these companies...
My data is... I haven't even looked. My data is most
how
likely...
would you look?
Didn't they release like a thing where you can check to see?
So I am just... so according to the reporting on this issue, because we're not a primary source here, the website they gave out where you could check to see if you got hacked provides random results that vary based on what browser you use to submit the exact same information.
Oh, really?
And even
I didn't even check. I just assume my stuff is in there because I have credit.
The click-through agreement, if you check, says you can't sue them.
Ah.
So they're just evil, and this is real fucking bad.
I thought the click-through agreement for not suing them was like if you pay for their credit protection
No. Apparently,
service.
the click-through agreement if you use the site that would tell you if you were hacked, you agree to not sue them. And apparently, that website just returned random results according to a whole bunch of reporters who put the same data into a bunch of different places.
Mm-hmm.
This is real bad. Because in the U.S., your social security number.
I don't know if you. So for people who don't understand what Equifax is, right? There are these companies called credit bureaus, and there's a law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, that determines how these companies work. And there's only 4, but I learned today 5 of them. Apparently, there's a 5th one that's weird.
Yeah.
The 4th one is actually also weird. The other 3 are less weird. So the not weird ones are Equifax, the bad one, Experian, and TransUnion. Those are the real ones. The 4th one is Innovis. That's slightly weird. And then the 5th one I learned about just today when I was reading about this is PCRB, I think, or something. We're not worried about them. But what these companies do is they report, or companies report to them, incidences that are related to people's credit.
It's like this bum didn't pay this credit card.
Right. For example, the only time I've had a negative report is when the hospital in Rochester.
Oh my God.
Right.
I remember that. I remember you bitching about that for like 6 years because it kept coming up.
So I didn't pay them, and if you did a credit report on Scott Rubin to see if Scott Rubin is someone you should loan money to, it would say, yeah, he's always pays every bill except for this one to this hospital. But now that's gone because there's a time limit on those things.
Yep.
So now if you look up on the credit bureau or any of them and say, should I lend money to Scott Rubin? Is he someone who will pay his bills and pay back this loan? It says, absolutely yes. Scott Rubin is a person who has money.
These companies release basically scores. Like, how good are you at money?
Right. So their information can significantly impact lives of every United States citizen.
So here's an example. If you want to buy a car, they check that, and if your number is too low, they give you a higher interest rate, or they won't sell you a car.
You could try to get a job, and because of information at Equifax, someone might decide not to hire you because of what these data that these companies
and that is legal.
Says.
It is totally you can require.
You try to rent an apartment, and the person renting you the apartment will ask these companies if that's a good idea, and if they say no, the person won't rent you the apartment.
Yep.
Your lives are, if you're in the United States, are extremely, extremely impacted by these companies. And
on the bottom and the top. So if you have a low credit score, you can't get the job you need to pay off your bills, and you can't get a cheap apartment. And if you need to buy a car, because in America you need to own a car unless you live in New York City, you're going to have to buy a car from a garbage place that's going to rip you off and charge a lot for a shitty car and give you a high interest rate. But on the other side, if you have perfect credit, you get lower interest on everything.
Yeah. Anyway, these companies, because they provide this service, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act law, whatever, have everyone's fucking data who has money in this country.
Yep.
They just have everyone's. It's like it might as well be a government database times 4 of them or 5 of them. There's tons of info out there at these companies, and Equifax's IT was apparently garbage, and all the got leaked. Someone just took their database, all the infos from there about all the U.S. citizens.
Now that would
and all
be
their
bad.
monies.
But it's worse because the data that was leaked, first name, last name, social security number, birth date, that's enough.
Plus more.
Plus a lot more.
Uh-huh.
And also, if you paid for services with Equifax,
they got even more monies.
Well, they also, some of the data is for 209,000 U.S. people, they actually got credit card numbers.
I did my free credit report one year.
I did. My credit's like almost 700.
Yeah, these companies, you have to pay these companies money for them to tell you information about yourself.
Legally, you can get one a year free.
Once a year for free, they have to tell you what your credit score is and what. But more than once a year, you have to pay if you want to see if anything happened to your credit. So
actually, I still have that old Capital One credit card, the one I got when I was in high school. And they started giving me a free credit report like every month.
Oh yeah, Chase Bank gives me a free credit report with this other service, but I haven't used it.
I used them all to see. My credit's real good, apparently.
I did it once. My credit was fine. Nothing's happened since then.
My credit is apparently better than someone my age should have, only because I got my first credit card when I was 16.
The point is, someone can go and take this. If someone has this data, which
they can just go get a home loan.
They can go get a loan and buy a house in my name. I have to find out if they did somehow. How would I know if they did?
Yep. So this is real bad.
Someone out there claims to be Scott Rubin, buys a house, has a mortgage. It's written down that it's Scott Rubin's mortgage. They're living in the house. They don't pay it. Then someone knocks on my door and is like, hey, how come you're not paying your mortgage? I'm like, what mortgage?
So one of the things that I'm an expert in is like SOC and all that ISO nonsense around like how do you do good IT security practices and how do you document that you do them and how do you prove to other people and how do you report if you're an entity that has to report on that, like what you're doing for security. I feel like the fact that this breach happens means that a lot of that was not happening at this company.
Nope.
And the fact that this company has such critical, like there's a concept, a PII, I think it's personally identifiable or identifying information. That kind of data is so much more dangerous and so much more highly regulated than other kinds of data.
We don't even store credit card numbers at work. We just, if you try to buy something from us, we use the credit card number, take your money, and then that's it. We don't. We don't let you save it or anything. You have to type it in again.
If you can avoid storing PII in a system that you control, it saves you a lot of headaches.
That's what we do.
But a company like this failing so horribly, this is a sector that probably needs really heavy-handed regulation. Which is not happening. And as far as I can tell...
So I looked up to see what happening at the other 3 or 4 major places, right?
Yeah, we learned some stuff.
One of them was running PR to, like, say how they're not awful. Another one was like, oh, shit, we're like, doomsdaying, right? And the other one was like, we're the weird one. Leave us alone.
We're the Discover of credit reporting.
Yeah, who knows what's up with that. Anyway, but... I wonder, because what I heard from Equifax, the little that I heard, was that their IT was so garbage. They were running like Windows Server 2003, and like the person in charge of their IT was not someone who came from an IT background, which on the one hand is perfectly fine because, you know, my first boss had a philosophy degree. Well, my first boss after college. My current boss is a journalism degree. It's like you don't need to have, you know, education in IT to work in the IT industry.
CTO doesn't mean you make all the technology decisions. It means that you're the one responsible for those decisions being made.
Right.
There's a subtle difference between those two statements.
Yeah. But it still does appear that their IT setup was generally a shit show that had not been updated in many moons. You know, that kind of old busted Windows thing you can imagine, you know, one of those companies where people still have IE6 kind of deal.
But that was not the source of the breach. According to them, the source of the breach was a flaw in Apache struts, which doesn't matter if you use someone else's software. If you use someone else's software, especially open source software, they are not responsible for your security. You are responsible for verifying their security.
Which shows that the people working there were not people who were good at security.
Also, on top of all that, apparently some executives at Equifax sold a bunch of stock right before they announced that they'd been hacked.
So how did they know that they had been hacked if they're so incompetent at IT? They must have had some confidence to know that this had happened. Maybe someone sent them a ransom note or something?
Or maybe they found out that they were hacked and...
How did they even find out?
There's a lot. So usually what'll happen is someone will notice something hinky, but...
Hinky. That's a new word.
I like that word. It's one of my favorite words lately. That and plausible. But something hinky's going on, but like some ops person notices something hinky, like, that's a weird DNS request. Like, they're looking through some logs. So they open a ticket like, hey, let's look into this later. And then eventually it gets to, like, my desk, if I worked for a company that does that kind of stuff. And I look at it and go, wait a minute, there's something up there. I'm going to open a bunch more tickets to look into this hinky business. And then eventually a report goes up to the CTO saying something fucking hinky happened.
Yeah, but you sell your own stock. Yeah, I wish I could set up a bot that automatically detects when
an insider is selling and then also sell.
Yes, just insider activity. Like if an
Scott, people do that all the time. That's a common trading strategy.
How do I do that?
Because usually,
how can Scott Rubin do that?
Pretty easily. I mean, so usually, and again, I'm not giving financial advice, but insider holdings are regulated or controlled to some degree. So like if someone who works for a big company wants to sell a bunch of stock in the company they work for,
you have to say so.
Yeah,
you have to make like an announcement.
So you'll see things like scheduled, like some executives will schedule like every month I am selling this number of shares on this day because they want that to be taken into account by everyone else. But apparently these Equifax executives just fucking sold stock. And then, like, right before this happened, and according to the news I'm reading, they are now the focus of a criminal investigation.
Yes, you are not allowed to do the insider trading, good or bad, unless you're a congressperson in the United States, in which case you can do that all you want, because you know that a certain law is going to happen that's going to affect an industry, and you just buy or sell stock in that industry, and no one can do a dick about it. But not if you're someone who works at a company, so jail time for you.
So here's the two takeaways. One, if you are in any way responsible for information about people in a commercial setting,
like, you know, all the citizens of the United States,
you should understand something about secure or system and organization controls. I never remember what SOC stands for.
Also, other countries, because I'm pretty sure these credit bureaus only apply to the United States. Other countries, please tell me how credit reporting is handled there. Like, if you need a loan in, say, France, how do they find out if you're good for it or not?
Yeah, probably way better than
Word
the
of
US.
mouth, like, hey, does Reem have the money?
Well, see, there's so many problems here. The problem really is that the information that was leaked should not be that dangerous. The fact that a few numbers, like a social security number, is that dangerous to be leaked in the U.S. is the real problem.
Well, I'm hoping it's one of those situations where the fact that it's, you had to wait for the egg to be cracked before people do something about it, right?
So, but companies or people who have this sort of information need to do real due diligence on security. And, like, it's not an easy thing, and it's going to be a lot of work and cost you a lot of money, but you need to be doing it, because if you're not doing it, you're going to get fucked by something like this. But my second takeaway is that if this situation is that bad and so much information is leaked that identity theft becomes endemic, then credit scores start to mean bupkis because they're filled with fake data and garbage.
Credit scores are already often filled with fake data and garbage.
So if you have bad credit,
and actually,
and the whole system gets undermined by this, you come out okay in the end.
If you believe that, then maybe you believe in that fifth weirdo credit bureau, which relies on self-reported data.
Hey, I totally paid that bill that one time to that guy.
Well, I think you have to prove your reports,
Yeah.
right? You can't just type in anything you want. You prove like your history of paying for stuff, and then that's what's used for how good you are.
So really briefly, the last news, let's talk about, because this is like real technology news, which we always Scott always complains about how there isn't a lot of real
This is
technology
official
news.
seal of approval, real tech news.
This just happened, so like Dateline 7:02 p.m. Eastern
Well, we've been
time.
talking about it for years.
Yeah, but it actually happened.
It happened. It's done.
So the World Wide Web Consortium abandoned consensus.
These are the people who determine the formats for like HTML, CSS, what's going to be in browsers, HTTP, all because the web is like the number one thing you use, and they decide all the standards. So basically, it's representatives from a bunch of companies and interest groups. They all meet and they all collaborate and decide. Are we going to remove the blink tag? All right, we're removing it. All right, CSS is going to work like this? All right, that's how it's going to work. And they all work together.
So as far as I know,
all the Apple, Microsoft, Mozilla, it's like, everybody's in on this.
but as far as I know, this stuff
It's a consortium.
has almost always been done by major consensus,
Yes.
meaning that they wait for everyone to agree on like the majority of what they're talking about.
There are rules for proceedings and voting and appeals, but generally the way it works is they all compromise and work together until they decide, all right, that's what the standard's going to be. Everyone agrees on it, and then they all vote yay. And
Now, I am
if
a
anyone's
fan.
voting nay, they change it a little bit.
I am a fan of administration by consensus. We ran the RIT Anime Club that way. The executive board.
How do you think? Could you think you could run a country that way?
Maybe not a country, but I'm talking about like local administration, like running a body of some kind.
Yeah, especially because you have a small body, right? You have a small number of representatives in that body. It's like if you can't, each one of those representatives represents a significant percentage. Like if you have 100 people with 5 representatives, if one of them is going, I think you need a consensus, right? It's like you're having 20% of your people's unhappy, right?
But this might be the first time they have ever abandoned
This is the first time there was an appeal ever, that's for sure. And it might be the first time they abandoned consensus.
Yep.
58% agreed to this?
Yeah, 58.4% agreed with this.
Mm-hmm.
It was appealed, which has never happened before.
So 42% of the web, people who have to deal with the web, do not want this to happen, but it's going to happen.
The appeal was denied.
Mm-hmm.
And the EFF said, fuck you, and resigned from the organization.
Right, so the EFF is no longer involved in the W3C as of today. They might rejoin, but unlikely.
So what is this all about? It's whether or not to have a standard way to do DRM on the World Wide Web.
Mm-hmm.
It is a complicated problem because on one hand...
We've talked about this on GeekNights before when it was first proposed.
Yeah, on one hand, if you don't standardize it, then private companies might put their own standards, and we might get back into plug-in hell to view proprietary media. On the other hand,
because basically people want to be able to watch like beautiful, amazing 4K Netflix in the browser, but Netflix, and the people giving content to Netflix and et cetera, don't want to allow that, because if it's through the browser, well, it could, you could just pirate all that shit and rip it. So, because the browser is like this piece of software the user's controlling. So they want some kind of DRM in there to prevent that. Otherwise, they're just going to force everyone to use like Netflix app and stuff, right?
Yep. But on the other hand,
which has the DRM anyway.
If you allow it to be a standard that's a formal part of the WWW, that sort of like the concept of DRM at its fundamental core is like directly contradictory to the goals of the World Wide Web as stated when it was created. The idea is that information should always be shareable, sortable,
linkable.
Yep.
You have a server. Someone sends get with a URI. You're supposed to send them that thing. You're not supposed to be like, all right, here's that encrypted thing. Did you pay money?
So I am heavily, I'm even fairly ambivalent on between ideology and pragmatism. But in the end, I sort of feel like the fuck you to DRM is more important than the standardization right now.
Especially since it, DRM is on the downswing, right? It's like all the DRMs on PC games are getting busted and, making people unhappy. DRMs and other things, all the music services like iTunes doesn't have DRM anymore. You just download MP3s or AACs in that case, right? And they just play. They're just files.
Yep.
Right? DRM was taking a beating. We don't need to see DRM make a comeback.
At the very least, I don't really want to dilute the magic of what the World Wide Web was, even though we've sort of gone very far from what the World Wide Web originally was. Those core guiding philosophies, I think, are still important. And I'm actually very proud that the EFF was willing to walk away from this organization.
Well, it doesn't help the EFF's representative at the W3C is actually number 1 anti-DRM, number 2 anti-DRM person after Richard Stallman, Cory Doctorow. So,
but this undermines the authority of the W3C to a degree. Because the W3C's authority came primarily from the fact that everybody agreed in the end.
There's still a lot of questions as to whether, for example, Mozilla will implement, right, and such.
Yeah.
Or whether, will the Firefox fork on Linux the Ice Weasel, if that's still how they do it.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's like,
are some browsers going to break from the standard? Is what's going to happen here, right? Are 42% of web things gonna not work right?
In a movie, this is the moment of drama where the representative of one of the countries in the UN in a movie slams their fist on the table and walks away and abandons the UN.
Yep.
So what happens next? Nobody knows.
We'll see.
All right. Oh my God, I'm so hungry.
I'm also hungry.
I smell food out there, so. But anyway, things of the day. So real quick, I'm a big fan of roller coasters in Cedar Point. So I found this video while I was looking for another video. And it's basically a roller coaster nerd talking about most of the roller coasters that existed at Cedar Point over the last 100 years that no longer exist, and talks about what their deal was.
Were there any that you haven't been on, Mr. Cedar Point fanboy?
Yes, many of them. So I haven't been on this one that was built in 1908 and shut down in 1917.
Okay, I'm sure. Okay.
Oh, this one went from 1929. They tore it down in 1951. I did not ride that one.
Okay.
But I have ridden Jumbo Jet, which my parents have ridden on.
Ooh.
But it was shut down in 78, so I was not ridden on it.
Okay.
But several of these I have ridden on, like Avalanche Run, Disaster Transport, the Wildcat, the second Wildcat.
Disaster Transport is a way cool name.
It was a pretty cool coaster.
It's taken down?
It's taken. So I'll tell you the story of this one because it's real short. There was a roller coaster that was part roller coaster.
I just like the name. Good name.
Part flume. So the roller coaster was on track.
I love me a flume.
It was on rail, but not water flume, just flume without water.
Oh.
So basically it was on rails, but then it would go off the rails into a half pipe and then go back onto rails. It was really cool.
If it was a water flume, that would be my favorite ride ever.
So they got rid of that. There was a water flume that was very similar.
Just a roller coaster that's a log shape, and then at the end, the tracks end, and it just goes sploosh.
I think Whitewater Landing
and then
was
they
like
at
that,
the
but
and
they
then
shut
they
it
sort of
down.
and then they sort of fish the logs back onto the track.
There was the log ride and Whitewater Landing, which was also a flume.
Because usually when you do a flume, it's just up and then sploosh, right?
Yeah.
And there's
so
no...
that's what I'm saying. There was one like that. I think it was called Whitewater Landing, but they tore it down. I rode it a lot. But anyway,
I'm all about the flume.
they shut down Avalanche Run, but instead of tearing down the coaster, they built a building around the entire coaster, and they turned it into Disaster Transport, which was basically a better Space Mountain. Like, legit better Space Mountain. And then they tore that down. So
I mean, the best part of Space Mountain is the space and not the mountain.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone knows that.
But yeah, this video is just like a real nerd history. And the real crazy takeaway from this video is that there is not a lot of documentation of things. Like, half these roller coasters, like one of them that existed for like 20 years, the guy's like, this is the only known photo of this coaster in the world, and nobody actually knows who built it.
Yeah, no one was caring or keeping track of these sorts of things like they were historic. It was just like some carny amusement park. You know?
So it's just kind of
They didn't think of it as like an important thing to, you know.
Yeah, I'll leave the dips. So anyway, this video is pretty good.
Okay, so I got two things of the day. So
taking a play from the Rim Handbook.
Not really. They're sort of related. I'm going to make them related. So I found out today that you can buy on Amazon for like $40 endoscopes. I don't know if they're safe to shove up.
Scott, you better not be announcing your new Twitch channel.
I don't know if you can shove these up your ass or down your throat safely.
Scott, you definitely can. The question is not can, but should.
I don't know if these are medical endoscopes, but the point is they're long. They're cameras at the end of long, thin, snaky devices, right? And they come in both wireless and wired, so you could like connect one to your phone and like see what the camera sees with just holding your phone. And the USB ones, I assume, just work like webcams.
So I think we don't want to watch Scott's live stream if it suddenly starts streaming.
Right. So first of all, would you watch, endoscope videos on YouTube?
It depends
live
on what
or
I'm
not live?
endoscoping.
Right. So I figure even if you're not using this for YouTube purposes.
Okay, look at it. I clicked on one of these. Most of the pictures are like, I'm trying to fix my air conditioner. Should I shove it up there to see what's going on inside?
Exactly. How useful is this thing? You can look under the couch without getting your head on the floor. You can look behind the stove. You can look.
Oh, dude, this one has accessories. It has a hook extension, a magnet extension.
Yeah, you can look in your throat when you're sick to see if there's anything in there. Right? You can look at your asshole, not in it, but like at it without using like 5 mirrors. Right?
It only takes me 2 mirrors tops.
It's still more than 0 mirrors, right? It's like, this is just a really, really, really useful thing to have. I'm not going to buy one right now, but as soon as the next time I'm at my house or apartment,
I might buy this one I just clicked on.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, it would be really useful to have an endoscope right now. I'm using like 2 mirrors to look at my asshole. At that moment, I will go to Amazon and buy an endoscope.
This guy stuck it into his wall to help with a cable run.
Oh, look at that. How great is it? You can look at a lot of people.
Why is this just a picture of a bathroom?
Because a lot of people are using it in the drains of tubs and sinks to see what the hell is down there.
But no, this is just, so the pictures are like, look inside.
Like, look down your sink to see if you dropped your ring down there before you take the catch off to see if that's where it actually went. How useful is that? Saves you so much work.
Oh, I know what I could do the live stream of. Go to places that, like, outside a building somewhere, especially in New York, and just go up into, like, weird places that are not necessarily publicly accessible.
Or, you're walking down the street. There's, like, a tiny hole cut in something. Stick the endoscope through the hole. Now you can see everything that's going on back there.
Stick it down the grate. You know all those grates? In New York City, you'll see grates, and sometimes down there it's just like the subway. But sometimes, like down there, like when you used to go to those events down in Mercer, those gaming nights at the Think Cafe, you'll look down a grate, and it's like 50 or 60 feet deep, and there's like a room down there.
I got to figure out which endoscope has the best light at the end of it. You can't get one without a light.
This one comes with a mirror, a hook, and a magnet.
Does it have a light?
Yes, there's an LED you can just turn on.
All right, that's the important part because you're usually going to be looking in dark places. Anyway, endoscope is thing of the day. Now, if you have an endoscope, to look at your backside there, you might want to still, do something about protecting your front side. So here is a typical weigh-in for a boxing match. I don't even know who these boxers are, but one of the boxers, I assume the one on the left, brought his kid to the weigh-in, which is cute. And his kid, like father, like son, let's just say. And, the guy on the right, he's probably got enough money from boxing. I don't know if an endoscope will help him, but it couldn't hurt.
I like how these guys come in real quick to break it up.
Yeah. This is the best 40-second video I saw today.
Okay, it couldn't have been too bad because he's laughing at the end.
No, I mean it was a little kid, right?
But still, it's a nut hit.
Yeah,
Nut strike.
That's right.
In the Meta Moment, the book club book is the 5th season.
I just read a chapter of this book with some terrible secret of Earth. Holy shit, this book going places.
And we just did. We were at the Penny Arcade Expo in Seattle, and we did a panel on rage quitting. And guess what? That whole panel is on YouTube in glorious 2K.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do 4K because then it would have been like a 30 gigabyte export.
No, this week we are going to make a video of, I'm saying it so Rim has to do it.
I'm doing it. I'm feeling it.
Because you didn't do it this weekend. You went hiking instead. We got to do video.
Yeah, you know what? You didn't do it the day I could do it because you were hanging out with your mom. So.
Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
It's raining this week, though.
Yep.
So we're going to do this video, judge anime by its cover, and we're going to do it 4 times a year. So now it's coming out this week. So you should subscribe to our YouTube channels because who knows which YouTube channel that video is going to be on.
Yeah, it's
who
going to be
knows?
good stuff.
One or the other, whichever. Maybe both. Why not?
So we've already gone 53 minutes.
Oh.
I think we just did a tech news roundup.
No.
I don't think we have time to talk about batteries.
Why not?
Because I'm hungry and we've already gone an hour and 10 minutes is not enough time, but...
We didn't even do a main bit at all.
We just died. I don't know. Do you have a main bit that only lasts 5 minutes?
What? What? There's no way.
We have talked for 54 minutes almost.
It doesn't feel like that. We usually don't mess up our timing like this.
We talked a lot in the front bit.
We just did 2 newses.
Well, 3 newses.
Oh, you did a third news?
Yeah, we did the third news because they're all really big newses.
Yeah, this is Rim's fault. I do not approve.
I feel like we just talked about Apple.
I do not approve.
Next Monday show, we'll talk about the iPhone, the iWatch. I keep saying iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Do the iWatch, and we'll do batteries.
I do not approve of this usurped Tech News Roundup. It's not allowed. No, this is Rim doing this.
Boop.
No.
You really want to talk about batteries for 2 minutes?
No, we're talking about batteries for the right amount of time.
Do an hour and a half show.